Hello there, captains. One of all ships promises us naval legends brought to life, from mighty Yamato to obscure prototypes that never ever skimmed the minds of any normal ship designer. But how much of this is really history, and how much is just war game with some historical flavor sprinkled on top? According to you, in my latest poll, wargaming does good enough job, but a very big percentage of you have absolutely no clue or no opinion on this matter. So, in this introduction episode, we'll be diving into how wargaming implements historical detail and flavors into World of Warships. The good, the bad, and the creatively interpreted. We'll be looking at ship design, Easter eggs, national identities, and of course, how much they bend history for the gameplay. First, let's go over visual fidelity. Well, Wargaming always had goated art department. Some could say it is hard carrying all of their games. Visually, World of Warships is stunning. The artists clearly did their homework on the ship models. The ships are rendered down to individual rivets, rangefinders, float planes, and even historically correct paint schemes sometimes. Even with some specific camouflages that were used in real battles. From what I know with my old history with wargaming, they very often consult blueprints, museum references, and expert input. Even little things like the correct AA gun layout or turret numbers are very often right. Sometimes they go above and beyond with historical skins, event camos, or port designs that contain a lot of Easter eggs and reflect naval traditions. The problems arise when other departments want to add their 5 cents to the art design. There is something called the balance department. And of course, historical accuracy will hit brick wall when it meets the game balance, especially for the arcade game. In real life, naval battles were often decided by scouting, positioning, and let's face the truth, air superiority. Battleship duels, like you see in here, very rare. Carrier spotting, often decisive before even the first shells were fired. Like the Battle of Midway, that was decided by CVs only, basically. Which is the most historically accurate balancing choice by wargaming for many. To make it fun, Wargaming tried to introduce a uniform overmatch for calibers, consumables, repair parties, and other arcade mechanics like radar or hydro that can spot through islands. But sometimes they go a little too far, like in case of submarines. Acoustic homing torpedoes? Apart from Germany, no navy had these until like 50s or Cold War era. And the German ones from World War II were highly limited as well, and mostly focused on not changing the direction of the torpedo but on triggering the explosion right under the ship for maximum damage. I think they missed the part that subs were using standard torpedoes and mines. And they already have mines coded into the game. They are still there in the operations with flagships when, some kind of flagships can actually drop minefields. And I think that's a huge L on wargaming on this part. Like, they could make submarines much more entertaining, much more fun to play and play against. That's a topic for a completely another video. But apart from subs, does this arcade mechanics ruin the experience? Not necessarily. But it's good to remember this isn't a simulator. Yamato was sunk by aircraft before she even fired her guns. And in game, she's pretty good long-range sniper boss. And still dies to aircraft. The same goes for the ships that never existed, the paper ships. Designs that never left the drawing board. Wargaming fills texture gaps with blueprints and what-if builds. Nothing in wargaming is like it would be in real life. We always fill the gaps.
Always filled gaps in the genome with the DNA of other animals.
Historically fake? Well, yes, but necessary for balance? Arguably. Just like any other dev, Wargaming also likes to hide some Easter eggs here and there. And you can see that on some of the ship models. Like Khabarovsk has a Russian money banknote on the bridge, Hood has a signature under the third turret, and I'm gonna make a totally another episode searching and showing you all kinds of those Easter eggs later on. But if you want to search for them yourself, just check the ship models. All you need to do is open a replay file with any battle, including the ship that you're searching for. Stop the replay with the End key, press Ctrl J to remove the UI, and Alt Shift plus Backspace to detach the camera. Now you can just freely traverse the maps and ships in search for eggs. Happy hunting! Special captains also have very fitting themes, like Kuznetsov, being an admiral of Soviet Navy, led to be the only branch of the Soviet military force ready for German invasion. So, first strike achievement giving bonus consumable kinda fits this theme. Also, him living through all the Stalin's purges, even though he was stripped of his title, that was ultimately restored, also fits his last stand theme. But some maps also have couple Easter eggs. The most noticeable one is the one that happens on Two Brothers if you get a cyclone. This little tree gets hit by lightning every single time the moment cyclone hits. Pay attention next time, and you're not gonna miss it. Still, not everything hits the mark. Some ship layouts are historically questionable. Certain AA guns are just copy pasted from other ships, but with totally different performance for whatever reason. Georgia class battleships, like Oregon is also Georgia by the way, would actually break their hulls in real life if they were traveling with the speed they are going in game with the engine boost. Or there are some nations whose naval histories are stretched to just fill the tech tree. For example, Spanish cruisers, like they don't really have anything beyond the tier 6 that we have in game. Or the entire history of Gdańsk. Well, as a Pole, it triggers me and don't start me on that one. There is also a big omission of major naval battles or campaigns that could make amazing operations. I hope Wargaming is gonna work a little bit on that, since I saw recently that they are doing something with the operations themselves, so maybe there's still hope. And the limited representation of some navies, like the Commonwealth, which actually played very key roles in both world wars. Like Canadian Navy was known for being very efficient ASFW fighters. And like, no, Cerberus is not Canadian ship, but you see that it will kind of fit the theme, right? Wargaming has got a little bit better over the years in terms of adding more nations and more representation of ships into the game, but it's still not too good enough, in my opinion. They've adding too many fictional vessels while omitting the ones that actually existed. Like, instead of Gdańsk, they could just make ORP Warszawa, like it existed, it was like Lushun kinda stuff. Come on! Okay, to just sum things up, so that's World of Warships Honor history. In spirit, yes. In details, very often. In gameplay, questionable. But for an arcade game, that's kind of the point. It's not perfect, but let's us say Legends we've only heard about in stories, and that's kind of worth appreciating. I will be definitely exploring more examples in future videos, ships that never were, those that got the Hollywood treatment, and my personal favorite, those little historical quirks that Wargaming actually gets right. But I'm also gonna get to those that they did wrong. If you enjoyed this little video, give it a like, subscribe, and for more historically mixed gameplay content, let me know in the comments if you want those. And if you find any cool Easter eggs, you can also give them a look in the comments, and I will definitely give you a shout out if I use it in the next video. So yeah, it's been Senpai Silent, and see you next time.